Hey everybody, welcome to MixLife number 18. I am the Ckemist and I will be doing a solo show today. I also think I'm going to try out a 30-minute show since it's just me, and we'll see how that goes. Uh, how's everybody doing? I hope you're having a great Sunday. Hope everything's gone well for you. Hope you mix some good stuff. I am working on a berry, just a straight up berries blend, like a mixed berry, which is surprisingly difficult. But I mean, this is round one. So maybe I'll talk a little bit about how I work through a recipe and, when it's not where you want it to be. And then I'm also going to be going over all the flavors and ELR, show you kind of the way I use it, and then show you kind of maybe some things you didn't know about it. And so we'll be doing some screen shares and walkthroughs and things like that. Let's see. In the news, TMZ there was an e-cig article today that talked about there's a brand in Chicago that was copying Juicy Fruit, Wrigley's gum brands, and they got a cease and desist that told them to stop, and then they stopped for like 6 months and then started selling it again. So now the big dogs are starting to take note of all these copycat brands and the copyright infringement. And I really expect that, that's going to clear out the market of all this, ridiculous stuff. Candy King was kind of the first to get spotted, and kind of like they basically copied Sour Patch Kids, if you haven't seen it. And then that was the basis for the e-cig argument in the San Francisco vaping ban that went through. Now, I think the vaping ban's funny because Big Tobacco also got all their menthol products banned in the city too. So it was almost like a karmic thing, it came back and got them a little bit. Let's see, in the vaping news for us, we got some big stuff coming, and I can announce that we have our own vape line coming to Canada, and it's called the Mixer Collection, MXR. And we're going to be putting that in every store up in Canada. We're excited about it. It's myself, Kopel, Jen Jarvis, and Steamroom, Clayton. And this has been a project since probably the beginning of the year. We started working on it. We each have 3 juices coming, and they're really good because we did about, some of us did like 5 or 6 revisions on these juices. And then all these juices got rated and tested in vape shops all over Canada. So we were up against the hardest critic as the owner of the vape shop. And, I think it's going to really change the market up there. So we're very excited about that. Samples and bottles are going to hit Canada shops end of the month. They're going to be available. So if you or know somebody who's got a shop in Canada, feel free to reach out to me or one of the team, and we'll get you some samples of the juice. The one I'm most proud of is called Woodsman, and it is I used a lot of different wood notes behind a tobacco and cream, so just really cool. And some of the flavors they have in them and things like that. These vape shops had never even had these flavors, so really cool that we're able to bring the quality of DIY to the vaping world for Canada. Sorry, US not yet, but we're getting there. We have 4 new one-shots coming to Chef's Flavors. They're all fruits, summertime fruit collection, and it is really nice. Those ones are some of our favorite. Christopher Kopel's stuff is 2 unreleased recipes. And the 2 I did, I'm really proud about. They're some of my favorite fruit recipes I've ever created. So those will be hitting what I think is next week. So if you're in the UK or you're around the world and you order through Chefs, go pick up those new one-shot concentrates. They're really going to be nice quality concentrates. And I think you guys will agree when you try them. We're always aiming to put out the best stuff possible. And that's just, that's the main reason is that we want the products and things that you get to mix if you're using one-shots, that they be top quality and not junk and not stuff that's like the worst ingredient because it was the cheapest, things like that. And Chefs is awesome. They really worked with us. I remember when we started, it was kind of limited in what flavors we can use. And now for this whole line, they're adding flavors to their inventory to be able to make some of these recipes we came up with, which I think is awesome from them. They've definitely invested in us. This is going to be I think it's our 15th or 16 flavors altogether that they've put out with the Christmas collection, with our original line, and then with these 4. So thank you to those guys. They're all sleeping right now, but really cool. No, actually, no one bailed. That's the funny thing, is that I'm giving the guys. Oh, you are bailing. It is Dave. So he's bailing. All right, Dave's bailing. Oh man, I wanted to give everybody a break, man, because it's summertime and we've been working hard. This is our 18th show, which equals 18 hours of, well, 17 and a half if I cut it at 30 minutes. But we've been going crazy, speed wise. I got a reminder on Facebook the other day that Christopher and I had been friends for a year, and I was like, man, what if we launched an app? There's 1,000 users on the app. We now have this whole mix team with the best mixers: Concrete River, ID10T, 6 Strings, Sejouced out of Europe. He's awesome. If you've never checked out his stuff, he's dropping amazing things. Jennifer, Jarvis, Steamroom. Clayton's always doing cool stuff, and Christopher, he's always doing amazing stuff. So it's like, it's really cool to have the team of these people. And we have a new mixer that I can announce, MLNikon. So, hey, go team. We all know she's amazing. So that makes us 11 people, and we're just doing, phenomenally farther than I ever thought we'd be doing a year into it. I mean, when I started this thing, I didn't even know where I was going. People in the DIY community were very happy to tell me I didn't. And, I think we really found our footing here to be sitting a year later and dropping a e-juice line in Canada, 16 one-shots to date in England. And I even found somebody in Pakistan that's using the mango tangos. And, when you think of that, it's like people all over the world. When you look at the app, the map for the app is totally lit up. I mean, all these different countries, and we're really working on expanding. We have talks for different countries going on right now, and I mean, that's big for me. It's really amazing. In my career, I've done digital marketing. I used to do music, and this is like one of the first times that the stuff that I'm making is reaching the world, and so that's really cool. And then when you mix that with the concept that we are, at the end of the day, saving lives here, we're getting people off cigarettes that have a 50% death rate. I mean, those are really big things for us. If you look at the top causes of death, it's cancer and heart disease, and cigarettes contribute to both of those. I'm just happy to be doing this. I think it's really great, and the support from everyone that's into what we do is really cool too. Like for this show, I didn't do any Facebook posting. I wanted to see who shows up just from being subscribers. So you guys are really cool for being here. We got the people that are here want to be here and like what we do, and that's really exciting. So we got chefs coming, and if you're not watching Chef's Flavors, you should be. If you really like to mix and you get bored with kind of the top 5, or 6 now if you count Flavor, but you count these brands that are popular, they can get boring sometimes because you're like, oh, all right, this, another strawberry, another, but if you go over to Chef's and just like dig through their site a little bit, they have some crazy flavors. And that's what Concrete's been doing. He has a really good collection of flavor notes he's been releasing on, I guess it's Soluba Rome is how you would say it. And a couple on Decadent Vapors. But we had the privilege to try some of those way back because we won a contest. So Chris got $100 worth of flavors. I got 50. And, when you already have a lot of flavors, to be able to pick and choose ones that are like interesting and intriguing, it's really cool. So I would suggest, if you want to get yourself a present or you want to do something nice for yourself, go to Chef's Flavors and try out some real strange flavors, things you've never heard of, things that aren't in a recipe already. you know, and some are going to be hits and some are misses, but it's a really cool experience. All our stuff that's over in England is not available here as one shots, and vice versa. So you can get a whole new line of things there. I think Wayne has a couple that are exclusive over there that you can get for DIY or die. So those are some good things. If you haven't checked out the Noted podcast that's on the DIY or Die network, it's Monday nights, late as could be, when everyone else is usually sleeping with a good job. But if you can stay up that late and you can manage to catch that, you really should. And definitely watch the replay. It's in the MixLife app. And they go over a flavor per show. So it's really cool because you get to just dive deep as could be into a slushy or you know, just even strawberries, things like that. Kopel did a Kopel, I pronounce it because I've said it that way for so long. He did a floral one that you should definitely check out, where he just dives into all the flowers that he's into. King of the Flowers is my nickname for him, just because he was one of the first people. It was one of the first things I was interested in. And like in my very first flavor order, I had honeysuckle and cherry blossom, right? But most people wouldn't do that. And he was doing that at the time. And that's really what showed me that he was somebody worth paying attention to. That. And then he would comment paragraphs helping people over and over and over again in the groups. And so it's cool. That's really how we kind of got started working together. And let's see, I'm gonna check the chat, make sure everybody's doing good. If you guys have questions, anything you want to know, you got Concrete, you got Dave on the side of the road, and that's good. Yeah, Anthony B, we have a MixLife group you can join, and then the E-Juice Makers page, the Facebook page, is where I post a lot of news. And then that feeds into the site and that feeds into the app. So if you're looking for like vape news, DIY news, sales, all that stuff, that's where we post it on the E-Juice Makers page, even more so than in the MixLife group. MixLife group's small. It's like 150, 160 people, but you have the whole team there to answer your questions. So if you have like a real, you know, what you think's a dumb question, or maybe something that you're just not sure about, or we say something in the video that you can't remember, that's a great place to go. Just really interact with us and talk to us. Let's see, pickle juice recipe. You know what I saw is the candy, the baked beans candy, and Randy Lisk has taken that on himself because someone else posted like, has anyone ever made this baked beans? Oh, okay. So let's talk about the MixLife app permissions. I use a service to make the app because I'm by no means a developer. So I use like a service. They have all kinds of features where you can click to call, you can upload photos to the app. So there's a lot of different ways you can build the app. That's the permissions it asks for. It's not us using that, and it's not them using it. It's the app is designed in a way where I can drop new content in without having to go through the app store. And that helps us deliver faster content to you. And it also helps us not have to go through the review process through the app stores and put the app at risk. So it'll ask for those permissions, but it's asking for those permissions because it's giving me the potential down the road, if I add those modules, that you could then use them. So it's not us. We don't do any kind of sketchy thing like that. The only thing that I care about or even use of the permissions part is there's an analytics, which tells me the countries that you guys are in. And that's just to track kind of the app usage. But yeah, there's nothing at work there. It's all in the up and up. It just lets me add modules so I can do updates to the app. And because they've already built the code into the system, so the app's kind of like a frame, and then they'll drop content in without going through the app store. So it allows me to add new modules and things down the road. But those are two, like the photo. I know it asks like for media access, and then it asks like to be able to call. but it doesn't use any of that. Let's see. Hope that answers your question, Sub Vapes. Hey, Apexified, what's going on? Yo, that's a great recipe, by the way, guys. If you're looking for a blue slush, just put out a revision to his recipe. It's got the WS23 coolant. It's got hibiscus as a sugar syrup, and that's a great idea. That's something I've been using kind of as a secret trick. Is the hibiscus, to me, gets harsh around like a 4, but lower than that, it tastes like corn syrup. So I'll hide that in different fruits and stuff to give it a corn syrup feel. And that's what he added to the blue slush revision that he did on all the flavors. And it is a very great recipe. Cool design. One of my flavors for Canada is a blue slush. And I didn't do it the same way, but I definitely took inspiration from the concepts of not just relying on certain blue slushes, but building it out and layering in different fruit flavors that you wouldn't think are part of that. So that's a great recipe. And then to see the revision come through, that's really cool that he did that. Yeah, Concrete had the hibiscus idea, huh? I mean, just, you know, that recipe, because when in the private talks with ID10T, I was like, you know, have you ever seen a blue slushy done right? Because that's where I wanted to start with was, okay, who does it right? And then how would I do it differently? And that was what he recommended. And then to see the updates you did are very similar to kind of where I went with it too, but not the same way, but just heading that direction of like, okay, how could you improve this? Because blue slush is one of the weirdest flavors in that it's not really a flavor that exists. Like I think of the guy that created the blue raspberry flavor, and it's almost it's in the abstract, right? So we all know strawberry, we all know vanilla, but you know, someone was like, hey boss, this is blue raspberry. And that got sold as a concept. And now it's, you know, in all the different candies and things like that. But there was some flavorist out there that actually, you know, was able to pitch a new flavor. And that's something I've thought about is like, well, what if you got like a vanilla level flavor, right? Like you developed a flavor mixture and you called it whatever you called it. And then it hit the levels that vanilla or chocolate or, you know, strawberry have hit with, like, it's in every ice cream, it's in every candy and cookie and all that stuff. That's deep flavor geekery right there. But that's something I think about sometimes, like, wow, that would be like an epic, like if your flavor became an adopted flavor where then, you know, nobody thinks where, you know, vanilla bean, right? But the blue raspberry is different, because it doesn't have like an origin that you can grab like a vanilla bean. Okay, I get it. You know, and it doesn't come across as raspberry either. It's different. So you have to kind of play in this weird chemical cloning world of trying to figure out, well, what the hell does this thing taste like? Is it just the blue color? And there's a juice in Florida by a brand called Innovape, and they call it Heisenberg. And it's not the Heisenberg. In the UK, they have a Heisenberg one shot that's not the same, right? But over here, they put blue dye in it, right? So it's this blue bottle of juice, which I wouldn't recommend you put dyes in your e-juice. But they tried to sell the same version of that juice without the blue color in it, and it didn't work. So there's definitely a big there's additional things going on psychologically with the blue color where you think more of it. You know, it adds something to it. The color adds to the perception of how you taste. So it's interesting. And then my mom, she had a bad smell growing up. Like, well, she still does, but just from allergies, can't smell things very well. And then that affects how she tastes things. So we don't always think of it, but sight and smell are also contributing to the way that things taste. So like if I'm flavor testing, the first thing I do is I pop the top off and I smell it. And then when I mix up a juice, I'll taste it, even though, you know, I wouldn't recommend you do that if you're sensitive to nicotine and things like that. You know, you wouldn't know till you try, so don't try it at home. But for me, I'll taste it, you know, and that gives me a quick hit of the taste of the juice and lets me kind of know where it's at. I'm working on a, oh, good. In the UK, the colorings are banned. That's good because it's hype, right? And I'm a big fan of quality over hype, right? It's better for you to make a better recipe with quality ingredients than make some trash recipe that you have to package in marketing fluff, right? And I'm a marketing guy, but I come from the concept of doing marketing that reaches people by like social marketing, not just social media marketing, but like sociology marketing, like getting crowds to act based on certain things versus the bullshit the crowd to make them respond, and then you deliver something that's not quality, right? Because then you don't feel as though you have been justified in your purchase. So you buy something, like you go to a vape store, you spend $30, whatever. Most of the time you're going to feel ripped off unless someone has like home run grand slammed the mix, and then you're like, oh, okay, right? You mix up these recipes and the people haven't worked on them. Like, that's the cool thing about Pexified is that like went back, remodeled the recipe to make it even better. And I think that's what inspired me to do the cream base revision, was just that like, oh, cool, he's going back and he's fixing his mistakes rather than just, or not mistakes, but just fixing. Okay, so like when you made it, you had a knowledge level of stuff, and there were this many flavors out. But like now there's better flavors, or you have a better knowledge of flavors. And you can look at old mixes and be like, I wouldn't do that today, but I did that then, right? And to be able to go and just say, hey, all right, I revised this. I worked on it. It's better now. That's cool. That's a cool thing. And I think that's what really inspired me. Like I redid the cream base over the weekend, and it's way better. You know, it had capped sweet cream in it, and I wouldn't use that as of today, right? But new mixer, getting to know these flavors, that was what I had. That's what I thought was best. So as you grow in your mixing knowledge, don't worry what people think. Come out and fix what you can fix, make it better, you know, because that's really what it's about. I, at the same time, would advocate, you know, don't put out 55 recipes on ELR called, you know, cinnamon roll 1, cinnamon roll 2, cinnamon roll 3. If you like cinnamon roll 22, be sure to try my other 21. Or, you know, 16 was good, but, you know, that's just, you're going insane. You've lost your point of reference, you know. And then I'll probably revise like 4 or 5 times. And then I'm a believer in, you know, go for B+, A-, don't go for A+, because when you try to do that and you get into the perfecting and the obsessiveness, you kind of lose your ability to perceive that stuff the right way. And that's true in everything, like business, everything in life is that, you know, the space to get to the B+ or A- is equivalently the same size as it takes to get from A- to A+, right? So and sometimes, you know, you think it needs something else, but it doesn't. You've just over vaped it. You know, I mean, like you get like fried on flavors. I did a cinnamon roll that I vaped for like a month, and it like that drives you kind of crazy doing the same. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? So I'd encourage you all, you know, there's a medium between refining a recipe, making it better, but then there's also the obsessive realm where, you know, you don't have to go that far, because if you look at the quality of most recipes out there, they're C-, you know, and then you look at the people that are doing it really good, B+, you know, and then there's some that just, you know, we're talking to your palate. So when you try a recipe, you try something liked, that doesn't mean that you're going to like that palette, right? And Malcolm Gladwell did a really cool TED talk on, I think if you search Malcolm Gladwell spaghetti sauce, and he talks about, I think it was Coca-Cola. And then he talks about, like, I think it was Prego spaghetti sauce. And there was a guy that was a flavorist kind of guy. And he would create new variations of the sodas and variations of the spaghetti sauce, right? And the point of the TED Talk is that there are these different silos. Like, so you have your spaghetti sauce, that's a cheese sauce. You have your veggie, you have your extra meat. And what they thought would happen as they expanded their line of options is that the customers over here would fill up over here, right? So you add veggie to your regular sauce lineup, we're going to lose some of the cheese customers over to the veggie sauce, right? But what happened was there was a whole new segment of people that came in that only wanted the veggie, that wouldn't buy this and wouldn't buy that. So you have almost silos of different people that like different flavorings and different profiles. So if someone's like, I hate your recipe, it's awful. Okay. Same when I used to do music and stuff. It's like, okay, there are silos. Now, if you can never get that was a great recipe, then work on it. But if you're finding that, 75% of the people love it, 25 hate it, that's fine. I did a Papa Smurf clone. And the comment ELR was like, this tastes, I can't taste anything. I've yet to find a good blueberry, and I guess I'll keep looking. And they were vaping like a 0.3 ohm at like 85 watts. And I was like, I would vape that same coil at like a 45 for the flavor for me. Like I'll vape it as low as I can go where it still makes the vapor, just to be able to get the most nuance of the flavor. The high vaping is designed for the cloud stuff, and you're burning the flavor away. Like you don't even get the flavor. And I was just looking at it today, going through ELR, looking at things, and he commented again, and I didn't see it. And he said, oh, my wick was messed up. My coil tastes great. But like I could have let that bother me for like months because I didn't see it. But you just have to be like, all right, there's going to be criticism of stuff you put out. If you're going to put out recipes, the way the Facebook groups work is it churns those recipes and it doesn't sort them by time. So if there's not activity on the post and people commenting, it gets lost. But that doesn't mean that you didn't make a good recipe. I'd recommend that if you think you make good recipes, message one of us and ask us to review them for you, or look at your recipes, or find someone that knows what they're doing and have them look at it. Because when you know what you're doing, you can look at these recipes and be like, oh, that's wrong. You should fix that. I'd swap that. It's quick. You can really get the help quickly. I'm gonna go through chat and see what you guys are chatting about. Strawberry kiwi mix, it's just almost done. It's a bit lifeless. You could do dragon fruit. You could do lime. Lime might work really well. Yeah, concrete hit it. Yeah. Oh, concrete said both things I said. All right, so concrete's got the chat covered. That's good. Let's see. I hope I'm not making no sense at all right now. Hope you guys are enjoying this. If you have any questions, things like that. Let's see what else. I'm going to jump into ELR and kind of just go through some things, show you guys some cool stuff. All right. So first things first, when you get to this page, it's not a good page to start mixing recipes off of. I'm sure you most know this, but you got 77,000 recipes. All you gotta do is hit here, and then you get theoretically better recipes. They're not the best recipes because as you start to dig into them and look at them, okay, so look, 2015, right? This one's good. Ella's got a good shortbread biscuit. But if you look, 2016, 2015, they're not always good. 20% is crazy. I wouldn't do that. 10% strawberry ripe is a lot. I would do 6% for the total strawberry, and I would have it mixed with a little dragon fruit, and I'd have a drop of alpine, and I would have a little bit of strawberry, what I call non-ripe. So ripe at a 4, non-ripe at a 2 to kind of layer the strawberry. But if you go into these things, like, yeah, that's the 4th, or that's what, like the 6th, 7th best recipe of all time. No, this one's more likely up there around the top. But even, this is the old work of people, right? So it's a 2-year-old recipe. There's no flavora even out. Ad for flavora. Good timing, guys. Nice work. And there's not as many options when these things were created. Now this one's good. This is Darren Cole, by the way. If you're trying to find him, he did the same thing Wayne did, which is his name backwards. So if you guys are ever wondering what in-law rec law is his name backwards. And Neredelok is Darren Cole. So Darren makes some great recipes. He's from England, and he has his own one-shot line over there. And he's releasing some summer one-shots as well. I think 4. Let's see. So when you're on this page, it's not necessarily going to be the best recipes. And even if they are the best recipes, it's really hard for a new mixer to know what's what. So it's difficult. I would say if you're going to look at a recipe, look at it and then look through it. Like this one, this is better. This is too high though. The vanilla custard is too high. Vanilla custard gets weird at around 4 or 5% to me. So the way I would do this recipe is I'd make the cream base and put it right here at a 10. And what the cream base is just layering of cream, different kind of cream options to give you a better, fuller cream. And that's really where I see a lot of people go wrong is they get into DIY and then they want to make the vape shop juice or a better version of what they've vaped, but they're not willing to layer the recipes. And that's very important. Concrete River, I want you to try, if you are shopping around, medicine flower are on sale from e-cig Express. So you can pick up a ton of those. I don't know if you've done those yet, but there's some flower ones that if you're just looking for things to try out, they're good. Yeah, shout out to constructive criticism. Making enemies over here. But let's see, like this one came up today in the ELR form, right? And you have your sweetener at a 4. You have sugar cookie in there, which is also sweet. You have sweet cream, which I believe they have sweetener in that one. And then you have the layered marshmallows here. Well, this has maltol in it, which is cotton candy. And it is going to bring down this recipe. So if you were just to use flavor art, and you don't need it this high, like flavor art at like a 1 marshmallow is going to taste pretty much better than at a 3. This is just like an old method of mixing. And if you're doing like a 50-50 mix, I guess, then the flavors would be, more available. But with the sub tanks and things, and you're doing 80-20 or 70-30, you know, it's just over flavored. I don't know. I'm trying to be nice. Oh, you did get some medicine flower. Yeah, like Neil said, that, you know, Darren Cole is a good mixer. So then it's like if I, okay, so like let's do this, right? So I'll go into a flavor. Say I wrote this recipe. Say I concept this recipe and I haven't tried it, right? So I've just written this recipe out. And nowadays I know where Bavarian cream works, right? But when I was just getting started, I didn't know. So you click the flavor and it's going to take you into the flavor notes for that flavor. I'll show you guys how that works. Oh, I guess we're not having a half-hour show. I rambled already. All right, so we're in Bavarian cream. Okay, there's your little warnings like banana will say it'll crack tanks, things like that. This doesn't really help too much. The gravities, if you're really anal about that stuff, these are totally insane usually. Okay, so we're looking at Bavarian cream. I love this flavor. I like it at a 4, 3 or 4. Makes everything thick, like almost thicker than vanilla custard does, and it's just good. But somebody made a recipe and they wrote 20% Bavarian cream. I don't know what they were thinking, but that's what they did. And because they did that, ELR is going to say, that's the most that was used. And then someone else was like, oh, I can taste it at a 0.2, which was probably Jennifer Jarvis. She's a super taster, and that's fair, you know. So that works there too. But then what you care about is right here, you know, the average quantity. That's the only thing you should really care about on these. And then over here, so the difference is single flavor. I don't know who would single flavor Bavarian cream. 222 people did. So if you want to know who the weirdos are, just count the numbers over here on random ingredients. Over here, you see, like I said, I like it at 3 or 4. Well, that matches what I like, right? But this still doesn't become, it does not become like law. This is really just a baseline for you to work off of. Yeah, I wanted to make that guava lime candy by not Charles Manson. Let's see, just checking comments real quick before we dive back into this. All right, so you're in here. Here's your notes. Usually you'll find Concrete River's notes stolen by people and then pasted in their notes. But you can, this is an averages thing. So what you want to do is look for the averages. You want to read everything about it if this is a new flavor to you. But at the same time, don't believe anything until you start to see the averages. You know, so then you got different people saying, you know, this is nice. This is French vanilla notes, dessert-like, warm, creamy flavor. One of TPA's best flavors. Okay, so we're on a good path, right? So if you're concepting a recipe and you've never gone down the rabbit hole with it, this is how I would start to work with a flavor. Like, holy cow, who do you listen to though? Look at that. 5, 7, 10, 15, 3, 10, right? It gets crazy. So you have all these different opinions. Everyone's got an opinion. None of them are right. But what we know is the average amount up here is 3. Now let's look at something else, right? This is what happens. So we're going to go to ratings. Doesn't really matter because they don't really matter. This one's fun though. Most commonly used with. This is going to tell you how many recipes have these flavors. Now, for something that's already popular, like you know, all these strawberry cream things, you have to assume that a large number of these recipes are just clones of the same recipe. I mean, it almost makes the recipe itself from the most commonly used with. But sometimes if you're using a new flavor, right? So if you've got a new flavor, we'll go look at one. You can find I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's take, trying to think of a good Concrete River. You got a good new, oh, okay. So watch this. So we're going to go into resources. We're going to go to flavor list, right? That's where you find all those flavors we were just looking at. Let's look at Royal Orange. Okay. All right, so there it is, right? But watch this. Like when you go to recipes, oh yeah, don't forget mine. Orange Dream Cream. But look, there's not that many, right? 18 recipes. If you go to here, there's a whole lot more than 18. So then you start to see what the secret ones, what are people doing in the trends of these recipes, right? Okay, oba, that's a good idea. Coconut, oh, I didn't think of that. So there's different things that you can see here if you dig deep enough and start to find things that aren't here. Okay, so that's a little tip for you. The other thing is this little thing right here. It's hidden at the very bottom. This is how many, I would say, vape shops or people that prefer to be quiet about it, but that includes vape shops, right? Mixing, people that use ELR just to mix their shop side stuff. This gives you an idea of how the flavor is used. Another one I was looking at was Hard Candy Flavor West, which smells like hairspray, as Concrete River eloquently put. And he's right, but it doesn't smell like the alcohol. It doesn't smell like full-on hairspray. It smells like what they flavor hairspray with. Now, maybe it's the same stuff, but it's almost like the part of hairspray that you like. What am I doing? All right, so flavor list. So you got a new flavor in. I just got Hard Candy in by Flavor West because I'm testing something. 2,700 recipes. Go down here. So there's 195 public, right? But then there's 2,600. Whoa, whole lot more. So what that tells me is the DIY community isn't using it, but maybe the mixing vape shop side is, right? So that's what I would look at with that. And let's see. So these aren't what you want if you're messing with. So let's go back to the Bavarian cream, right? And if it's a flavor apprentice, you want to type in but we don't want the data sheets. What we want are the components list right here. So it's shopperfumersapprentice.com/spec sheet list.aspx. But you can just Google flavor apprentice MSDS. Over here. So what are we talking about? We're talking about Bavarian cream, right? So we're going to find that over here. And then we're going to go to this thing called list right here. Okay. Yeah, it smells like pump hairspray. You're right. 20% Bavarian cream for the win. So let's see what's in it. Perfumer Apprentice, the only one that does this. I'm going to vape for a second, but I'm going to let you guys look at what's in it. So they have maltol and ethyl maltol, which I'm sure Concrete can maybe explain the difference, but they both come across the same way. You know, that one says burnt cotton sugar, but then this one's coming across cotton candy, caramelic. And so as you see here, like the #1 ingredient you're messing with there is ethyl vanillin. And the way they tell you this is they say somewhere between 5 and 40%. Somewhere between 5 and 10, somewhere between 30 and 35, right? So now you see that there's a little EM in the Bavarian cream. I didn't know that. I know that now. But maybe that's why you end up using it at 3, right? So as you use it, you notice like, oh, when I did it higher, it didn't work the same. And then, you know, so that's how you kind of get in and see what's in it. And then, so if you're using like 3 or 4, like, so if you go into like vanilla swirl, right? You'll see that there's a lot of similar ingredients here. There's the vanillin, there's the ethyl vanillin, there's the maltol. So you have, but like maybe you're getting an anise note, you know, it would be this. And you go, oh, okay, that's what's causing it. So this is, yeah, I know. But I just was wondering, I think the maltol will mute down flavors the same way as the ethyl maltol, I believe. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me. Yeah, now you guys know this little secret tip here, which is this will help big time. Big time. Just to know and go in and be like, what the hell's causing this problem? And they have every flavor, right? So you can go through. What the hell did they put in chicken and waffle? Is that right? That is right. Vanilla. God. And butanic acid. That doesn't sound right, but that's how they're making it. I don't know. Flavor Apprentice does some weird stuff. Like some of those flavors are crazy wrong. Chicken and waffle contains vanilla. Yuck. I guess it's for the waffle. But this is how you investigate your flavors, right? So you're going to do, you know, so all right, now I'm going to make this, you know, whatever you put in. So what I'll do is, you know, keep it private, and then, oh yeah, I heard it's good at 20%. That's not good at 20%, folks. Just a joke. We're going to joke around. We're going to do that. We're going to save it. We're part of the problem. Okay. See, it knows. Okay, so you've made your spec recipe, though. You can go in and go through every ingredient that you're thinking about putting together and do what we just talked about here. Just look at the averages, look at the notes, look at the recommendations. A lot of times in the notes, you're going to have the pairing. It's going to tell you the best way to pair it. You know, Concrete does that all the time. Oh, Steve, that page, you can search. Oh, Concrete's on it. Concrete's killing it in the chat. He gets an award or something. I'll give him a star. I hope this is helping everybody. Just kind of learn a couple tips. You know, if you want to give yourself a boost as you come out of the box using ELR, give yourself 5 stars. Favorite your recipe just because it looks nice. And then as you release the recipe, oh, we don't do that because you'll see recipes. Killed it before. But as you release the recipe, it'll put it in the top and the bottom, right? And then it will also email all your followers. So the more followers you can get on ELR, the more people catch an email with your new releases. So it's really like having your own mixer email list if you can build up the following. Now, I just like auto followed 10,000 people using like a open new tab code. So I just went to town. So I followed 10,000 people right off the box. But, you know, go around and follow people that you think are decent mixers when you see good mixes. And that way you'll get a notification when they release stuff. Oh, Steve did the trophies. Good job, Steve. I love sweeteners when they're used correctly. I do too. I only use I use sucralose up to a 1. And then You know, if I have a recipe that's already got like marshmallow or other sweeteners, I'm flexible with it. But the max that I'll add sucralose is a 1 nowadays. All right, let's look at some tricks on here. So I hope, you know, that's enough for ELR. And then let's see, 650. We got 10 minutes. So I'll show you a couple of things over here. So the recipes, so you go to recipes, right? These are kind of what Q2 says are great. You go in here, you got 2,500 recipes. Over here is a filter button. And you put it down, you really want to go to most mixed, right? And the way mixing works is once you create what he calls a batch, and like you turned it into a recipe you're actually mixing, that's actually what counts. So if you don't care about the hype, like I might have been able to get a ton of people to the recipe, but maybe not as many mixed it. You want to go with most mix. Rating is not going to be good because they might, you know, it's very hard to rate on this website. And I wouldn't trust hottest either. But most mixed is a good one. So you just search with an empty bar. And then that's going to give you the recipes in order of how they were mixed. So God milk is the #1 recipe being mixed. These guys, you know, the DIY or die guys kind of had an early start here on this site. So it skews a little bit towards them. But decent recipe. Let's look at that compared to what we were looking at. Now you guys all know what that looks like, but so see, look at that. That's the same average from ELR is the Bavarian cream at a 3. So you see what I mean? Is that as you dig into these, now this I like is the flavor notes of all the flavors are very cool. Yeah, we are getting dangerous. But this is what matters here is he has a chart, which is great. And he tells you private, public, and then you can see. So I was doing research on like cotton candy flavor, and it has multiple spikes to it because there's different ways you can use cotton candy. And if you search and you look for things for cotton candy, you end up with every recipe on ELR because everybody put 0.25% of cotton candy in it. But over here, you definitely had more spikes where you could say, okay, here's where they're using it to be cotton candy. Here's where they're using it to be an additive, right? So I hope that makes sense there. I think we're there. Okay. So here's your top recipes. All right, but you want to know who to follow on all the flavors. You got flavors, you got recipes. If you go to more, there's a mixers section. Okay. Yeah, like Anthony B said, it gets crazy. Don't do that. Now, super sweets double the sweetener of TPA sweetener or TFA sweetener, right? So use 50% of that. If you're following someone's recipe and they say 1% flavor apprentice sweetener, use 0.5% super sweet, or else you're going to over sweeten the recipe, and it's not even going to be the way the person that designed the recipe. All right, so let's see. Same thing here. Keep it empty. Okay. Most followers. Hit the search. And we're smoking the internet because we're streaming, but give it a second. Okay, so now you have a list of the popular mixers. So if you guys want to keep a track of that, I'll post that. So here's the link where it shows you the mixers. And again, look, there's the DIY or die guys, right? They were in the door first. Verve was in the door first. Maybe ID10T was too. He's crazy though. The thing about his is he's got 600 recipes. Like he keeps them all secret. Like, what is he making? Something. But look, you were scrolling through here. These guys are good mixers. You can't go wrong with this list. Coke Can. There's Darren Cole from the other ELR. He's over here. Goldfish, Philosophucker. These are good mixers, right? They might not all be your cup of tea. Yeah, it's all mangoes. He's obsessed with the mango. So many mangoes. Cheeba Steeba, that's the first MixLife crew right there. And then we're all page 2 people. MLNikon, Concrete River, Too Tall, Steamroom. That's the crew right there. That's all the MixLife people. So as you run through these, okay, there we go. These are the, you know what I mean? These are good mixers. These are people that know what they're doing. 6 strings, right? Those are all people on our team. I'd like Fear to join the team if anyone gets the info to him, because I love what he's doing with tobacco lately, or at least talk about it. We'd like to talk about it, see what he's thinking. Jennifer Jarvis is there. Hocus Crocus, the alias for Christopher Kopel, because that was his awful ELR name before. And all the flavors charges credits for whatever reason. So there's no way to change your name until you become famous enough, right? So, you know, let's talk about the things that, you know, yes, this site is used more by the DIY or die crew, but there are thousands of mixers over on ELR releasing recipes, almost to the point of there being too much noise, right? But that's a great way for you guys to find the mixers, right? And that's another way for you guys to find the best recipes that aren't going to be right here. What was that one? I love the ideas, you know, like the creativity and just the time that I've been doing this, it's going to another level. I mean, people are starting to get creative. They're starting to add really innovative photos with their stuff. And like when we started doing that with the recipe books, people were like, why do you need a photo? Why are you making this cool? We don't need your marketing gibberish. But like, to me, it's just a label on a recipe. Like a recipe's boring without a little flash to it. And I really like how people are taking the time to come up with stories. They're coming up with concepts around the mix. You know, with ID10T's longing story being the kind of the first mark of adding a whole entire feeling to the mix, where you walk away and you're like, oh damn, you know, that's a different thing. So I really like to see that going on. I haven't renewed this thing, and this is my biggest gripe, is that the recipe creation isn't free. So when I go to make a new recipe, I'm sorry guys, but Ckemist is not allowed to add more than 2 recipes. So I don't know. You can find my cream base on ELR, the updated one. And I don't have a problem renewing this because, you know, it's $2 a month or whatever. But, you know, people definitely have some complaints about certain things over here. And they have complaints over on the other side. So neither of these solutions is perfect. But I would like to see all the flavors let you release recipes without having to pay for them. Maybe you can't share your recipes without paying for it, but at least you're able to make them privately so that a mixer can work on a recipe, because the recipes you share aren't what you work on. As you can see with ID10T, you know, you work on recipes before you release them for a while, and you may make 10, 20, 30 versions of that before you're ready to release it for people. So that's my biggest gripe here. And then with ELR, it'd be the homepage, just because you can't tell what's going on. And I'm sure there's a lot of new mixers that jump on and they pick a recipe off that first list, and it's like recipe roulette, which is a good name for something. Recipe roulette. You guys come up with an idea for that, be cool. All right, so we're gonna hop back to the show. I can't believe we made it this far, and I'm back with my ugly mug. Look, so I hope you guys learned something from all this. We made it an hour, which is insane, but screen sharing saved it. You got to try florals, Josh. It'll change your life. Just go low. Use it as an accent. Don't. The problem is people try to make a floral and they try to go crazy high, and then they're like, "Oh my God, it tastes like I'm eating a flower." Go low. Start low. Go try our Lake Placid remix we did. It's It's a remix of Placid, and you can use any strawberry. We have jungle flavors, strawberry in there, but you can use any strawberry. It's simple. It's strawberry, lime, I think raspberry and honeysuckle, and that's a great way to get into it. And when I tried, you know, the version of that we made, I was like, damn, this is different and good, you know. And I really just ease into the flowers. I hope you guys had a good time. I had a good time with you. I hope you got something from it. And, you know, just keep mixing, keep doing what you do. You know, you get better daily, you know, and you just have to keep going back to it. If you get bummed out and something like this doesn't taste the best, this berry is okay. But it's going to make me feel that much better when I release this thing, and it's amazing. So I'm going to sign off now. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. And we'll see you next week with somebody. MixLife Show 18.